Hello guys, welcome back. Hope you all are doing absolutely fine. So today we'll be starting a new series of microbiology topics with a first topic on parasitology. These parasitology topics are often asked in examinations for 20 marker and it's quite important. Okay, so these are the notes to read along with me and to read it and also listening it once or twice before your examinations to recall maximum points and topics to write for. I also urge and request you all to read your textbooks first, and this is only use this as a revision tool, right? So let us begin. First, Entamoeba histolytica. Introduction. First described by Tosh in 1875 after being isolated in Russia from a patient with dysenteric stools. Geographic distribution. It is worldwide. On global scale, it ranks second after malaria as a cause of death among people with parasitic infections produced by protozoa. Habitats. Trophozoites of Entamoeba histolytica resides in mucosa and submucosa of intestines of man. Morphology. The parasite exists in three morphological forms: trophozoite, precyst, and cyst. Trophozoite. It measures 10 to 60 micrometers in diameter. Cytoplasm. It can be divided into a clear outer ectoplasm and inner finely granular endoplasm, in which the red blood cells, leukocytes, and tissue debris are found within the fluid vacuoles. Trophozoites are motile with active, unidirectional, and purposeful motility. Trophozoite is the only form present in the tissues. It usually appears only in diarrhea phases in active cases and survives only for a few hours. Nucleus. It is spherical in shape. Size is varying from 4 to 6 micrometers in diameter. In stain preparation, it shows a central dot-like karyosome which is surrounded by clear halo. The nuclear membrane is delicate and is lined by a single layer of fine chromatin granules. The space between the karyosomes and the nuclear membrane is traversed by linen networks having spoke-like radial arrangements. Precyst. It is small in size varying from 10 to 20 micrometers in diameter. It is oval with a blunt pseudopodium projecting from the periphery. Food vacuoles disappear. There is no change in the nucleus, which shows characteristics of trophozoites. So this is a diagram, right? So we have to make this trophozoite and a precyst, wherein in trophozoites we have the ectoplasm, the endoplasm, nuclear membrane, thin chromatin granules, karyosomes, pseudopodium, and the food vacuoles, and the precyst. Cyst. It is spherical in shape, size varying from 10 to 15 micrometers in diameter. It is surrounded by thick chitinous wall. It starts as a uninucleate body, but later the nucleus divides to form 2 and then 4 nuclei. Uninucleate and binucleate cysts in addition also possess a glycogen mass and 1 to 4 chromodyl bars. Cysts are present only in the lumen of the colon and are formed feces. Stools may contain cysts with 1 to 4 nuclei depending on the degree of maturation. Entamoeba histolytica cysts are not produced in tissues. So this is the diagram of cyst, wherein 1 it is uninucleate, 2nd binucleate, and 3rd quadrinucleate. Cultivation. The first medium to be used for cultivation of E. histolytica was Bock and Dr. Bauhaus' diphasic medium. Life cycle. It passes its life cycle in only one host. Cysts are passed in feces. Man acquired the infections by indigestion of mature quadrinucleate cyst in fecally contaminated food or water. Trophozoites can also be possessed in diarrheal stools but are rapidly destroyed once outside the body. Cysts may remain viable in a humid environment and stay infective for several days. Infection may also be acquired by anal-oral sexual practices among male homosexuals. Flies and cockroaches can also serve as vectors for the transmission of Entamoeba histolytica cyst. In the small intestine, the cyst wall is lysed by the trypsin and the single tetranucleate amoeba is liberated. Each nucleus divides by binary fission, giving rise to 8 nuclei. Almost immediately, the cytoplasm becomes separated into as many parts as there are nuclei. Thus, from each mature cyst, 8 small amoebae are produced. This process is known as excistation. During growth, Entamoeba histolytica secretes a proteolytic enzyme of the nature of histolysin, which brings about destructions of the necrosis of tissue and produces flask-shaped ulcer. The amoeba are mostly present at periphery of the lesion. At this stage, a large number of trophozoites are excreted along with blood and mucus in the stool, leading to amoebic dysentery. In few cases, erosions of the large intestines may be also extensive that trophozoites gain entrance into the radicals of portal veins and are carried away to the liver, where they multiply, leading to amoebic hepatitis and amoebic liver abscess. After some time, when the effects of the parasites on the host is toned down, the patient has developed resistance. The lesions start healing and the patient starts passing normal stools. The trophozoites in the lumen of the large intestines discharge undigested food particles and transform into pre-cyst and then into mature quadrinuclear cyst. These are in the infective forms of the parasite. This process is known as encystation. Cyst formation occurs only within the intestine tract. Pathogenicity. Entamoeba histolytica causes intestinal and extraintestinal amoebiasis. Intestinal amoebiasis indicates that organisms are confined to gastrointestinal tract. After the incubation period of 1 to 4 weeks, the amoeba invade the colonic mucosa, producing characteristic ulcerative lesions and a profuse bloody diarrhea. The ulcers may be generalized, involving the whole length of the large intestine, or may be localized into ileocecal or sigmoidorectal region. Ulcers are discrete with intervening normal mucosa. They vary in size from pinhead size to more than 22 to 5 cm in diameter. They may be deeper or superficial. Base of the deep ulcers is generally found by muscular coat. However, superficial ulcers do not extend beyond muscularis mucosa. When destruction is not limited to submucosal but extends deeper into the muscular layers, the following complications may arise: local peritonitis, perforation and generalized peritonitis, pericecal or pericolic abscess, sloughing and gangrene of large guts. Entamoeba histolytica may also cause amoebic appendicitis and amoebiasis. Extraintestinal amoebiasis. About 5% individuals with intestinal amoebiasis 1 to 3 months after the disappearance of the dysenteric attack develop hepatic amoebiasis. The amoeba cause obstruction of the portal venules, resulting in anemic necrosis of hepatic. Necrosis is followed by cytolysis. Small miliary abscesses coalesce to form big liver abscess. Amoebic liver abscess. It varies greatly in size. It has been reported in patients of all ages, but predominantly in adults between 20 to 60 years. It has a marked preference for the right lobe of the liver, and it is at least 3 times more frequent in males than in females. A section through the margin of the liver abscess can be differentiated into the 3 zones: a necrotic center filled with thick pus with no amoebae, an intermediate zone consisting of degenerated liver cells, a few RBCs, leukocytes, and occasional trophozoites of Entamoeba histolytica, an outer zone of nearly normal hepatic tissues just being invaded by amoebae. Pus of the liver abscess. The center of amoebic liver abscess contains a viscous red, brown, or grey-yellow fluid consisting of cytolyzed liver cells, RBCs, and leukocytes. It is referred to as pus, but contains very few pus cells. Signs and symptoms. In general, the onset is often abrupt, with pain in the right hypochondrium radiating towards the right shoulder and scapular area. The pain usually increases with deep breathing and coughing. Fever between 38 degree to 40 degrees Celsius is found at patients with amoebic liver abscess. The jaundice is present in 8% of the patients. When jaundice is severe, multiple abscesses should be suspected. Complication of amoebic liver abscess. With the continued lysis of liver tissue, the abscesses may grow into various directions, coming in contact with neighboring organs through which its contents may be discharged. A right-sided liver abscess, a left-sided liver abscess, and a liver abscess situated on the inferior surface. Laboratory diagnosis: intestinal amoebiasis. Stool. In acute amoebiasis, stool or colonic scrapings from ulcerated areas are examined by macroscopic and microscopic examination. It should be carefully differentiated from bacillary dysentery. For microscopic examination, stool is picked up with a matchstick or a platinum loop and emulsified in a drop of saline on a clean glass slide. This method is especially useful for demonstration of the actively motile trophozoites of Entamoeba histolytica. Trophozoite may also be demonstrated by mixing a small amount of the specimen with the eosin reagent. For the demonstration of the cyst or dead trophozoites, stain preparation may be required for the study of nuclear character. Trichrome stain is useful to demonstrate intracellular feature of both trophozoites and cyst. Since excretion of cysts in the stools is often intermittent, or at least 3 consecutive specimens should be examined. Stool culture. It is useful especially in cases of chronic and asymptomatic intestinal infections excreting a large number of cysts in the feces. Biopsy specimen. It should also be submitted for histopathological study. DNA probe. It has been useful to identify E. histolytica in stools specimen and specific sequences can be amplified by polymerase chain reaction. Blood examination. It shows moderate leukocytosis. Serological test. These are negative in early cases. However, in later stages of invasive intestinal amoebiasis, antibodies appear and serological tests become positive. These tests include IHA, indirect hemagglutination, IFA, indirect fluorescent antibody test, ELISA, enzyme-linked immunosorbent assay. Hepatic amoebiasis. Diagnostic aspiration. Trophozoites of Entamoeba histolytica may be demonstrated by microscopy of the pus aspiration by puncture of amoebic liver abscess in less than 15% of cases. Liver biopsy. Trophocyte of Entamoeba histolytica can be demonstrated in the specimens of liver biopsy from the cases of amoebic hepatitis or the walls of liver abscess. Blood examination. It shows leukocytosis with total leukocyte of 15,000 to 30,000 per microliter, of which around 40 to 45% are polymorphonuclear leukocytes. Stool examination. In less than 50% cases of amoebic hepatitis, cysts of Entamoeba histolytica can be demonstrated in the stools. This indicates persistence of intestinal infections. Serological test. Serological tests like IHA, IFF, and ELISA are of immense value in the diagnosis of hepatic amoebiasis. Histology. A histological diagnosis of amoebiasis can be made when the trophozoites within the tissues are identified. Molecular methods. DNA probes with a PCR are the recent molecular methods of promise for the detection of Entamoeba histolytica in the stools and liver. Aspirates. The sensitivity is estimated 87%. Treatment. Very effective drug for the therapy of amoebiasis is metronidazole or its analogs tinidazole or ornidazole. Prevention. The amoebic infections can be prevented by avoiding fecal contamination of food and water. Contamination may result from discharge of sewage into river. Purified water should be distributed through pipelines to avoid contamination. Boiled water is safe. The amount of chlorine normally used to purify water is insufficient to kill cysts. Vegetables that usually eaten raw should be cleaned with uncontaminated running water and treated with 5% of acetic acid before consuming. Food exposed to flies and cockroaches should not be consumed. One should wash hands before eating and after defecation. Homosexuals should avoid anal or oral sexual practices. Okay, so now we'll look into the diagrams and a quick revision of the life cycle again. Okay, so this is the cyst, precyst and trophozoites of the Entamoeba histolytica. Now we see the life cycle. Life cycle. Ingestion of fecally contaminated water or food containing Entamoeba histolytica cysts from your. Then it goes through the stomach into the colon. Excistations in lumen of small intestine, which the multiplication of trophozoites by binary fission and invasion of colons by trophozoites. Self-limiting. Okay, till here, this phase, it is always self-limiting and asymptomatic infections in 80% of the cases. Then, after the colonizations, encystions occur. Invasions of the colon trophozoites can for encystions and excretion of cyst. Second route might be invasion of colon by trophozoites, which goes on into the colon. Then neutrophils attack, which induce neutrophil-induced protection. Then amoebic cytotoxicity might occur. Invasion of mucosa and submucosa by trophozoites. Colitis. And lastly, hematogenous dissemination, which can cause extraintestinal diseases in less than 1% of cases, which can lead to liver abscess, pleural and pericardial effusions, and brain abscesses. Okay, so thank you.